serious. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming tonight. I hand over the floor to Dr. Ibichiro. You're welcome, sir. I'll mute my mic now.
Yeah, thank
You have an
thank
hour.
you very much. And all right, thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. Well, I'm to speak on the role of the citizen in the electoral processes, but I tagged it your role as a citizen in the electoral processes. Now, when we're talking about elections or so on, most persons just think that it's a business of some few and not everybody. In fact, most citizens think that when they talk about elections, some people say it's a concern of politicians and there is a concern of XYZ and not everybody's business. And so many persons are themselves docile because they don't want to be involved. They feel that there are already people chosen for that particular process, and so they do not fit in. But I just want to tell you this evening that the electoral processes, that there are processes that lead to the selection of a credible candidate who will represent his party first and the citizens or constituents thereafter. Now, after a due process of selecting person or persons that would govern or represent the people. Now, one thing you should understand that all these processes, that the citizens' role is very important to usher in a smooth democratic process. Now, if the citizens are docile, if the citizens don't play their role by participating ab initio, that is, from the initial process of aspiring first from the party angle and then being selected first, and before they come up, it will be a very difficult task. Now we can take the next slide. Now note that the key word here, what we are looking at, it's selection. Now, because the process of selection is very important if there will be a smooth transition. Note, smooth transition to power. Hence, citizens are expected to be aware, they're expected to be informed, and to also participate in the entire processes. Now, most persons think that when they talk about election, they normally say it's politicians' business. They only leave it for politicians. Who is a politician? Every man is a political animal. It means that we all are politicians because politics start directly from our homes. In the home, we decide on what should come first, priorities. We prioritize what food are we going to eat, what do we cook. We ask ourselves sometimes, should we pay the children's school fees first, or do we buy their books? Do we get them this or that? Now that is a choice, and in making that choice there are some undertones and some interplays that will take place even in the home before some choices are made. So the same thing with electoral processes. And then once you leave it that the things are not done the way it should be done, then we'll be backfiring. It will backfire to us as citizens. Now, if citizens stay aloof, the consequences are very high and could be disturbing, as access to good life after the electoral process will be difficult and daunting. Move the next slide. Now, for the purpose of this presentation, the following will be looked at. One, we'll look at the selection process, that is the processes of selection. The next one we'll look at, we're looking at the expected voting age stroke requirement. Sorry, I made a skip there. The expected voting age stroke the requirement by law. Then the next one, we'll have the selection processes. We'll have the party basis and general elections. We'll have the polling stations stroke units. The next one is, or the last is counting process stroke declaration. Next slide. Now let's look at the expected voting age and requirements. Expected voting age. Now the right of every Nigerian citizen is entrenched in the Constitution. Now if we look at Chapter 4 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, now it stipulates such rights. Now what is a right? A right is a moral or legal claim to have or receive something, or the expected behavior or conduct. Right refers to the things or activities to which a citizen is lawfully entitled without fear or persecution, discrimination, or any form of hindrance. Now, when we're talking about these rights, these are inalienable rights. As a citizen, once you're up to age 18, 18 is a right expected by law of a person, of a mature adult, to exercise his or her franchise, to be able to vote in an election, to select persons, credible individuals that will represent the citizen or represent us, as the case may be, in governance. Now, if such persons do not, people who have voting age, do not participate by going to, register. And of course, there is always a time when the registers are opened. These registers are opened to enable qualified and mature citizens to now go register with the Independent Electoral Commission, that is the INEC, and then be able to exercise their franchise. Remember, the first in the process is registration. If you do not register, you will not have the mandate to either vote or be voted for. And so you must first of all be a registered citizen, and then it will enable you to do otherwise, either to just vote or to be voted for by way of running for an election. Next slide. Now, it is a right of every Nigerian of voting age who is up to the age of 18 to register and vote at elections. Thus, every person of voting age who is a citizen of Nigeria is expected to get registered and vote. If you don't get registered, if you don't register first, you can't vote. And if you don't get registered, you cannot also be voted for. Whether you like be 100% qualified, have all the degrees, have every qualification needed. If you have not done the first stage, which is registration, you are automatically disqualified from the entire process. So it's incumbent on citizens to ensure that they get registered in order to be able to exercise their franchise. Now, the next slide. Now, the next slide is the selection processes. Selection processes, I tagged it party/general election. Now, you should understand one thing, that citizens are not expected to be spectators and allow people who have no business with leadership to lead or rule over them. As a citizen, you are expected to participate. You're supposed to be in the process. That is, you are supposed to follow the process that is from the party level, where you become a member of a political party, you present yourself for election to be selected first. When you are selected during the party primaries, there are other candidates, people who have also expressed interest. You will pick the party intent form, which will enable you to qualify to be voted for at the party level. When you have done that, it means that you are ready. Now, when the party members and so on, they come together, they will look amongst the candidates and choose the one that they think or feel is most credible, that can represent and make their party win election. At that point, you can now be part of the electoral process. But once you are not a party member, because I know that the time we had the zero party election was, I think, was within 1997, when we had the zero party or so, during the time of IBB, when the experimentation was made. This experimentation of zero party, I think, within that period. Now, people who did not register, were not party members, came up on their own. But that is not the case in point now. It means that you must either belong to any of the political parties. It might be APC, it might be PDP, it might be ADP, it might be SDP, it might be AAC, etc. So you must find yourself first as a party person. Secondly, before you be selected, and thirdly, you will now be voted to represent your party first. That is the selection process at that level. Now, it is expected that citizens will participate actively to select persons who will represent them at all levels of the electoral processes. That is, from presidential and taking the highest, then to the governorship or gubernatorial elections, to the national and state assembly elections and beyond. It means that citizens at every point should ensure that they present themselves, and not just presenting, they are actively involved in the process of selection. Note that I said in the process of selection, because you must be selected first before you can represent. So if you are off it and you are not doing this, it means that you will not be a participant, but you'll be a spectator. Now, next slide. If the citizens are docile at any point, I said people who ought not to be in government will hijack the process, and that will portend danger for the electoral process. It is often said that bad men take over power when good men do not participate in the electoral processes. So you need to, as a citizen, you need not to stay aloof. You need not to say, it is not my business. I was privileged to gather among some youths, even at this level, this time of great awareness. A particular guy, I would say out of illiteracy, was saying that he didn't register, that he knows that what they will do is they will select who they want amongst the three contending candidates, that they've already endorsed one. So what is his business? He cannot vote. He didn't register. He knows that this thing will happen. So that is why he didn't. I think I just turned and told him, I think that is foolhardy. I told him, Oga, with due respect, sir, I think this is foolishness on your part, not to, as a citizen, to participate. Now you want the process to be truncated or rigged by people who have no business to be there. When a citizen like you refuse to exercise your voting right by going to register and to come to exercise your franchise, if tomorrow anything happens, you will now come and say, no, mind them. Why? Because you are aloof. So please, citizens should try and ensure that they are not spectators, but participants. Now let's look at party-based selection. Selection of candidates for election starts, I told us first, at the party level, where individuals indicate interest to participate in electoral process. Now, at this point, citizens are to ensure that people with proven characters and sense of responsibility are chosen to participate. Next slide. Now, if we look at the party selection basis, which is the first point where the errors start, that is, if proper diagnoses are not carried out to ensure that credible individuals are chosen. If not, it will be impossible to get it right at the general elections. Now, we should understand, like as I said much earlier, that any mistake made at the party level will become a cankerworm that will eat up and cause the havoc at the general election. So it's incumbent on every citizen to not just be a spectator, participate at the party level, participate in presenting yourself, participate at the selection of who comes. Don't stay aloof when you know that the person that is coming is not credible. Not because the person, they've given you money, you are parted with some paltry for sum, and then you decide to mortgage your conscience and then mortgage the future, your own future and the one of your children unborn and the generation yet to be born. I think that will be a misnomer, and that will be a great harm that you'll be doing. So it is advisable that citizens participate and not just to stay aloof to watch. And I said, thus, party selection should be very thorough, to ensure that persons who emerge will represent popular interests and not the interests of a few individuals or cabals. Because what is reigning, what we hear about individuals who wield so much power and they control the persons in authority, in quotes. And then we hear about cabals behind the scene who makes the person being so selected because of agreements or thereabouts, and then makes the person more of a puppet than a leader that will come and lead. So it is very important that we watch and be careful that we are not swayed to do things that we ought not to ordinarily do. Next slide, please. Now, the general elections. Now, at the general elections, if citizens have gotten it right at the party level, making the right choice of persons will be seamless, as naturally the process will engender good representation. But if the reverse is the case, then people who have no business to be in power, I put it in quote, to be in power, will hijack the process, thus causing untold hardship on the citizenry. Now, citizens should be wise at the general election not to sell their conscience for a loaf of bread or for 5,000 naira, especially at this point when we have cash crunch, when there is no money, when it is difficult even to access your money. Of course, these money bags that have already gathered money and they come to bribe you, and then you collect. Wait, what will happen in the next 8 years? In the next 8 years, it will be a very serious problem. The next 8 years will portend so much danger, so much misery, because what we are seeing now that we are talking about suffering this current naira swap, I think it will be a plaything, because the one that will come will be worse. When you choose a bad leader, you know that you are in for a very hard time. Now, next slide, please. Next slide. Now, it is incumbent on all citizens to ensure that the proper thing is done to usher in a good democratic government. I said on the 25th of February and the 11th of March 2023 by voting rightly. That is by next week, Saturday, as we speak, we are going for the presidential and National Assembly elections. Let us not vote by party. Even if you are a party member, let us vote individuals that are credible. Let us vote individuals that will make it right for us. This is a very time
It seems
not to move.
okay.
It means that. Go ahead.
No, we couldn't hear you temporarily, but you are back now.
Okay, there was an interruption. A call came in. I don't know if I go to the flight mode, if it will be okay. I think won't it disrupt this? Okay, let me continue.
It will disrupt it.
A proper
You
diagnosis.
can continue. Yes.
Okay, I'm going on. Now, so I said we should try and get it right on the 25th of February. And then on the 11th of March 2023, let us be careful not to vote by party affiliations. Let us ensure that we are voting individuals that are credible, even if we have made the mistakes at the party level, even if mistakes have been made by the persons being brought forward by the parties to represent us. It is incumbent on us now to correct it by choosing the person or persons that will best represent the interests of the citizens and not their personal interests. So many individuals we find in leadership positions today are not representing the interests of the citizens, but their own interests. Of course, what we call stomach infrastructure, more of what comes to them and them alone and their family, and not to the generality of the citizens. So we should be careful. Now, I said a proper diagnosis of the contestants for election is key to get things done rightly. Therefore, citizens should be up and doing to ensure that the 2023 elections are peaceful and credible by ensuring that there is no overvoting at polling stations or disruption of voting, as the time to get it right is now. You know, the new electoral law stipulates that if there's an overvoting in any polling unit, the entire election will be cancelled. If there's a disruption of the process, it will also lead to cancellation. And so, some persons who know that they are not popular at a particular polling unit or stations might decide to cause some kind of disruptions or want to cause any kind of disturbances that might lead to the cancellation. And so citizens should be very careful to ensure that they do not fall prey to the antics of these persons who I would say are ne'er-do-wells. Next slide. Now we look at the third one, which is polling station stroke unit. I just told us a little bit about the polling units, that the best we'll do at each of the polling units is to ensure that we are well guided, that we don't allow people who will come in to truncate the process. Citizens are expected to participate and be watchdogs, not lap dogs. They should be watchdogs and not lapdogs. Lapdogs are people who have been compromised. Lapdogs are persons, citizens who will collect paltry sum from politicians and then come back later to blame the entire process on the government. We are the government now, because this is the right time when we want to elect leaders that will represent us. So it's incumbent on citizens now to do the right thing. Now, at the units, it is expected that citizens should ensure that after the process of accreditation, and subsequent voting, their votes count. If otherwise, the process will be marred with irregularities, which will spell doom, for the entire democratic processes. Now, if citizens do not do what is expected of them by guiding and guarding their votes, by ensuring that they do not allow any irregularity, anything that will truncate the process, then we will get it right. Next slide. Next slide. Now, if we do not follow the processes the way it will be, by ensuring that we seriously or jealously guide our votes, then we're in for trouble. I said the polling station, both at the voting and collation centers, should be guarded and guided to ensure that election results are not manipulated to favor the wrong candidate. Once the wrong candidate emerges, we are doomed. Citizens are doomed, because it will be another 8 years of gnashing of teeth. It will not be easy, because they will go for their pockets. They will go for their families and friends. They will not represent popular interests, which is the interest of citizens. So if citizens are alive to their responsibilities as individuals, rigging and electoral manipulations cannot suffice. Next slide. Now let's look at the counting/collation processes. The counting/collation processes. Now, when we're looking at the final stage of the electoral process is the declaration of results. It is expected at the collation unit or center that a proper monitoring is made to ensure that results are not upturned. If we allow results to be upturned, it means that popular interests will not be represented. It means that the things that we expect, the good life that citizens will ordinarily want to live, will not be. Because ne'er-do-wells, I don't want to call names, hoodlums will take over the entire process. And it means that it will be another 8 years of mourning. Now, citizens are to ensure that the right count is done by guiding and monitoring the process to its logical conclusion. Citizens are to monitor. When we mean monitor, a watchdog monitors. A watchdog is active and very attentive to ensure that if anything goes wrong in the process, they're able to at least nip it on the bud before it escalates. So, next slide. Now, before I come to taking a conclusion, let me say, because from the process so far, let me recap. We were looking at the first stage, which is the stage of going to register. We looked at the next stage, which is the stage at which the citizens have registered, rightly their expected voting age, and then the selection process or processes. Then we look at the party basis and the general election. We look at polling stations and units, and then we look at the counting process and the declaration of results. Obviously, if these processes are followed and well guided, the electoral process, the entire process, will be worthwhile. But if not, it will be very, very unfortunate, and it will be quite disturbing. Now, we have been able to look at the role of the citizens in the electoral processes. I said we have also been able to point out the roles expected of the citizen in the entire process. Please, the next slide, please. Okay, we are there already. Sorry, we are already there. Now, we have also been able to point out the roles expected of the citizen in the entire process, from the build-up to the election proper and the subsequent selection and announcement of the winner through a well-coordinated process. In all, the citizen is key. In all, next slide, I think. In all, the citizen is key in ensuring that proper steps are taken for us to get it right in the 2023 elections. I want us to note that a safe and prosperous Nigeria is the dream of every citizen. Permit me to say thank you, and then your questions can roll at this point. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Pepple. Okay, for that. Okay. I would like to give a little summary for those who are just coming in. Okay, some questions are already rolling in. Okay, please put your questions in the chat box. We will take the questions at the end of the day. But for those just coming in, let me start. We talked about the citizen's role, or your role as a citizen in the electoral process. And he began by giving an introduction that the electoral process are processes that lead to the selection of a credible, and mark the word, credible candidate who would represent the party, the citizens, and the constituents after a due process of selecting a person. And he went further to say that the citizen's role is very critical for any democratic process. In any country where we have had this work, it's because the citizens were actively participating. He went forward to say that the key word is selection, okay, and the selection is a sine qua non. It's very critical to have a smooth transition of power. He further cautioned about against staying aloof, because the consequences could be very, very high, as we can see in our country. He talked about access to good life after electoral process would be very difficult and daunting if we do not participate. And I think it calls to mind the proverb that said, evil triumph because good men keep silent. So he went further by saying his presentation will be looked at in 5 steps, beginning with the requirement. Number 1, the requirement for voting. Number 2, the selection process. Number 3, party bases and general elections. Number 4, he talked about the polling station units. And number 5, the counting process and declaration. And he went ahead to say that for all these stages, that we all need to be involved. Point number 1, the requirements. Under the requirements, he said that this is backed. It is a right of every Nigerian citizen, okay, and such rights are to be exercised by every citizen, okay, as long as you are a citizen, that you are lawfully entitled, without fear of prosecution or discrimination and without hindrance, to vote during an election. He went further to say that there is a requirement, and the requirement is that you must be of 18 years of age to be able to do that, okay? And I believe everyone here is above 18. The second point, he spoke about this selection process, either the party or the general elections. He said citizens are not expected to be as spectators, but to actively participate in the presidential and the gubernatorial elections, the national assemblies, and the state house of assemblies. Okay, at every point, being involved in the 4 tiers of the elections that we hold. That is for the party. He also went further to say that we need to start at the party level, where the individuals indicate the interest to participate in the electoral process. He said citizens need to start first at the party level, what he called the party-based selection. And he went further to say that if we have to select at that point, it has to be with people who have proven characters and a sense of responsibility. Okay. He warned against voting on party lines, but actually targeting people who have proven characters and people who you are convinced have a sense of responsibility. Okay. He went further by saying that the party selection basis is the first point the error starts. There is a proverb that says that if a fish wants to get rotten, it begins getting rotten from the head. So if we get it right at the party basis, then every other thing would fall in line from what he has said. He said if proper diagnosis is not carried out to ensure credible individuals are chosen, then it will be virtually impossible to get it right at the general election level, because at that point it will be too late. Like the Englishman says, it's too late to cry when the milk is spilled. Okay.
Yeah.
So he went further to say during the general elections that citizens have the right to vote at the party level, that if they have made the right choice at the party level, then at the general election level, it will be a bit more easier, because people who have no business to be in power will not be able to hijack the process. Okay. And if it was gotten right at the party level, it's at the general election level, it's about choosing. If you have a rotten egg and a rotten orange, it becomes difficult to choose them are rotten. But if you have a good one and you have a bad one, then it is easier to choose. He went further to say that citizens should be wise at the general elections and not sell their conscience for a loaf of bread of 5,000 naira. Okay. He went further and said that the dates fixed are the 25th of February and the 11th of March, both for the presidential and the gubernatorial elections, and that a proper diagnosis of the contestants is key to get things right. Okay. So maybe one of the questions I would ask, anyway, it's not yet time for questions, it's how do you do a proper diagnosis? Anyway, if I have the opportunity to ask, but we give the opportunity to others. Okay.
No, we'll answer it.
Okay. Then he went further to say we are almost through now with the summary, that at the polling station units, citizens are expected to participate and be watchdogs, okay, and not lapdogs, okay, to guide and guard their votes at the polling station, or else we will get into 8 years of misery from what he has said. Okay. He went further to say that he also went further to say that at the polling station and also at the collation centers, we need to be vigilant in order to avoid manipulation or rigging. Okay. I think finally he began by talking about the counting and the collation process. He said the final stage of the electoral process is the declaration of results. And it is expected that at the collation center, a proper monitoring should be done so that results are not upturned. And that citizens should ensure that the right count is done by guiding and monitoring the process. Okay. In conclusion, he said we've been able to look at the role of the citizen, okay, in this process and what is expected of the citizen in the entire process, from the build-up, okay, to the announcement of the winner. And he encouraged every one of us that the citizen is the key to ensuring proper steps are taken for us. And finally, he said a safe and prosperous Nigeria is the dream of every citizen. I hope I've been able to summarize a bit for those who are just coming in. All right. We have a number of questions, Dr. Pepo, and let me start. Maybe my own should be last. Let's start with those who came first. The first question is from Dr. Orubibi. He said,
Okay.
how can I get used to the Beaver's electronic voting system? Where will the voter thumbprint? Where will the voter thumbprint be, or something like that? I don't know if you got that question, sir.
Yes. How can he get used to
It's
the
used electronic
Beavers
electronic
electronic
voting system.
yeah voting
And
system?
where will the voter
Okay.
thumbprint be? Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm not an INEC official, and I'm not making a presentation of how you are going to. But I think it's been shown over time on the television how the beavers work. If you go to this polling unit, it's a simple thing. Once you present your card, what they call it, the voting card, your PVC. It is taken, it will be slotted in, and then your hand is placed on the electronic thumbprint, and it will take whatever. I think that one is an exercise that is not difficult. As long as even if you are illiterate, you can equally be guided to be able to do it. So I think that is one of the roles of the INEC. It is not part of the lectures here. I'm not an INEC official. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. We have a second question. I'm taking them according to their
Okay.
times. This is a 2010
Okay.
by
Okay.
Dr. Woodibi also. A lot of polling stations have been cancelled by INEC in some states, and voters are not aware. How can a voter verify the current voting location?
Okay. I think voting locations have been placed on net. There are so many things. What we are looking is citizens' role. We are not looking at voting locations and whether INEC cancelled. That is speculation. We don't know. Because if INEC actually cancelled, they should have, so that I don't bother myself traveling to my home state or going to where I registered or anywhere. I need to stay at home. So I think it's mere speculation. We are not aware. And I cannot speak for the INEC because I'm neither an official nor an ad hoc staff of INEC. So it's off my own area or my domain for now.
Okay, thank you, sir. You have another question by Dan Jibia. He said, thank you, doctor, for this wonderful lecture. My question is, citizens have various roles to play. I would have expected you to expatiate on the duties of those in charge of special duties in the electioneering process, like the presiding officer, the returning officer, observers, security agency, etc. So
You
that
know,
voters. It's
no,
a
you
long
don't even
question.
need to finish it. For me, no, the truth of the matter is that, I'm telling you, the topic is all encompassing. It tells you your role as a citizen in the electoral process. We are looking at your own role, not that of the presiding officer, polling officer, or not. We are not looking at their role. You are to watch them because they have already been taught what to do at the polling stations or units. So it is incumbent on you as a citizen to watch them and ensure that the right thing is being done. If you go to INEC's site, www.inec., they have, what do they call it? The one they call about, is it they have the one for results, they have the one for is it trainings and all that. It will be able to give you an insight. But what we're looking at your own role as a citizen. What are you expected to do? Watch them. Ensure that what they're doing is right. If you want further education, voter education, I think you can go to INEC website and just get the requisite information. But for me, I'm looking at you as a citizen, your role. I'm only telling you what you should do to ensure that the electoral process is smooth. I wish this lecture had come much earlier when the processes of registration and so on were on, so that you would have known that it's incumbent on you to go register if you're of age and all that. I'm sure he will be comfortable with what I've explained.
Okay, thank you. We have another question. It said, "Good evening, Dr. Pepple, and thank you for the elaborate lecture towards having a credible leadership via the election process. Looking at the past elections in regards to malpractices, open rigging in the eyes of law enforcement agents, do you think this coming election will be different?"
Okay. Yes, I think from all that has been laid down, from the new electoral law and the stipulations of it, it gives us the hope and confidence that our votes will count, unlike before. And that is why I'm very confident that I can go out and cast my vote. Before now, yes, it is possible that the vote will not count because there is snatching of ballot boxes and all whatnot. But that is not business as usual again. So let us forget about other elections, but let us take the examples of the ones conducted recently by INEC, where this Ekiti election is a case in point, and which other election, the Anambra own, where people's vote counted. So let us look at it and then believe that with what we saw, it will count.
Okay, thank you. Another question, as we are all by Geoffrey Induguisi, as we are all aware, the candidate selection processes during the primaries were marred by a lot of irregularities, thus leaving electorates with little or less option for credible candidates. How do we get it right from the point of choosing candidates at party primaries?
Good. You know, the problem too, if you look at it, citizens were docile. Citizens allowed money bags to hijack it because they refused to say no to the process. They all took monies. If the person asking this question were to be a party man, what was his own role? What did he do differently? Did he oppose the entire process? Did you look at a primaries where they count 70, 71, 75, 100? What did we say? What happened? Didn't party men take it in good faith? So these are the things. We challenge it right from the party basis. At the party level, we challenge it. When you challenge, when citizens are not aloof, when citizens fully participate, then we can be able to right some wrongs. So that is all I would tell him. If he participated, if he aired his views or his grievances, I think it would have been different. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Pepple. The chat box, there are no other questions. What we have are just statements, okay, which others can read. So maybe now you can answer my own question, which I asked during
Okay,
the.
good. Yes, he said, how do you
How
how
make
do
a
you
proper
yeah
diagnosis? Yeah,
how
okay.
do
How do you
you
make a proper
make
diagnosis? Yes, in
yeah
selecting a.
how do you make a proper yes. Now, in talking about, let us say that from our domain or where we live, where we come from, I'm in Port Harcourt. I know people around me. There are some candidates that present themselves for election. We have known ourselves from primary school. We have known ourselves from secondary. We knew ourselves at the university days. We knew that some of these persons do not have good character or personality. We know that some of these persons are dubious. And again, they come to influence us by bringing money because they have the wherewithal. And then we accept. And when we know that these persons have questionable character, that is where the diagnosis starts. Now, let me tell you, I come from Bonny. Before now, they come to houses based on the family history. And they will meet you and they'll say, this man's father was a very good man. He was this and this. We want his son. This one is cool-headed. We want you to come and represent us. You are not the one going. They call you that, look, come, we want you. And they look at those qualities and they say, come and represent us. And whoever comes out to challenge the people will say, this is the person we have chosen. And they stand by it. Ask a question. I'm on an open access where so many people are listening. This is what holds sway. In Bonny before now, I'm not talking about now. The entire processes became mad because citizens are no longer active. Citizens are no longer involved. They allowed it that election matters for politicians. What happened when citizens were involved? At that time, we got it right, or if not, nearly right. What is happening now? That is a question again. What is happening now? So if we do a proper diagnosis by coming out to say, hey, this person is not good. This man is a thief. This man is a cheat. This man is this. I think even the person would remove himself and citizens stand their ground. But today they say, that man is a thief. They say, that's the person we want. Remember Jesus and the two thieves on the cross. What did they say? They said, kill Jesus. And they said, release the other one, the two thieves. Sorry, I'm talking about Pontius Pilate. At the time they brought Jesus, for judgment. They said, who among the people should say, give us Jesus and dismiss the thief? And that has been the process now. You know that this person is a thief. I say, give us the thief. Give us the thief. We don't want the good man. So let us start by doing the right thing. I don't know if what I've said, meets your expectation.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. You just one last question in the chat. It says, where is or how real, if there is the infrastructure for national data capturing? And it goes further to say, where are the thumbprints stored? Who is in charge to run the database for fingerprints, etc.? I think this person is asking questions on the infrastructure.
You know that you and I know that it's not a question meant for me. It's meant for the INEC chairman or the commissioners, INEC commissioners. But the truth of the matter is that these things have been put in place. There are people manning the databases, the servers and all that. What they told us this time, that everything is working. And from what INEC said, they said they are ready for the election. And they told us that the election will be credible. In fact, they said this is one of the elections that Nigerians will never forget in a hurry. He said it will go down well in the history of Nigeria that Nigerians selected their leaders themselves, meaning that our votes will count. So as citizens, it is still incumbent on us to do the needful by ensuring that we vote the right candidates.
Someone is saying a big amen, sir, to what you have just said.
So, no, okay. I saw it. It's amen.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Pepple. Please, I want you all to go to your screens. You will see a smiley. If you put your cursor over the smiley, you will see send a reaction. I please want you to send a digital clap or a digital congratulations, please. Aha, beautiful. Or you send something. Some people are sending love. Some are sending, okay, please. If you can do that for Dr. Pepple, we will appreciate it, please. To say thank you, Dr.
Thank
Pepple,
you all. Thank you all. Yes, I appreciate.
for coming. Thank you very much. Okay. So if you want the materials, please, I will send them on the Aspire for Excellence WhatsApp group. Go to the chat, click on it, and you will join automatically. Thank you, Dr. Pepple, for what you've done. And I want to Thank you very much. Augustine Daniel, thank you. Babatunde, thank you. Chibuzo Clara, thank you. Chukuma
I,
Oji
I,
Victor, thank you.
I saw my friend there, Dan Abia, a journalist. Thank you, Dan.
Okay.
Dan Abia is among the persons there. Thank you.
Okay. Cletus Munachi, thank you. Colin Sudano, thank you. Daniel Abia, thank you. Dan Jibia, thank you. Don Citek, thank you. Okay. Berimako Udoka, thank you. Geoffrey Indubisi, thank you. George Sinedu, thank you. Okay. IBK, thank you. Dr. Ibitu, thank you. Ike
Thank
Chukwugo,
you,
thank
sir.
you. Jerry Ogolo, thank you. John Gottfried Lezuka, thank you. Julius Ogedebe, thank you. Mudiaga, wow, all the way from overseas, thank you. Naomi Babe, alias Adamu Usman, thank you. Jacob Okperibe, thank you. Ogechi Adioku, thank you. Mercy Ogedebe, thank you. Olawale Obayomi, thank you. Oyetunde Ojeniro, thank you. Peter Agono, thank you. Rosalie Nuebo, thank you. Dr. Sabinus Honorable, thank you. Samuel Ajuse, thank you. Ufoma Aporido, wow, thank you. Uju Uwafo, thank you. Victoria Chuku, thank you. The Big V, Vien, thank you. Thank you all, and do enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you. Bye-bye.
God bless you. All right, bye.
Bye.